What is up, my fellow gamers? In today's video, we got our legendary dog hero tier list in Oh My Dog. Like and sub for more amazing gaming content. Thing is, we already did our mythic hero tier list. If you want to check that out, I'll have a link down below in the comment section, description box, whatever. We went over all the mythics. There's really not a lot of mythics. Now, what I've been noticing though, is that a lot of these legendaries seem to be actually better than some of these mythics. The game is kind of weird because it gives you a lot of materials to summon for mythics. Like, summoning for these mythic dog heroes is extremely easy. It's so easy to get these, but the legendaries are actually a lot harder to get. So it almost feels like even though the mythics are considered to be the best, a lot of the legendaries have really unique skills. And a lot of the legendaries are even, it's harder to star them up. It's harder to get duplicate copies of them because there's not only so many of them, but this entire game is tailored towards you kind of summoning for the mythics. So yeah, there's a bit of interesting things going on with that. So let's jump into this. We got S, A, B, and C. I do have only one dog hero that I'm putting in the C because I think this one is really, really weak. Most of them are going to be in the S, the A, and the B, with the S being the best. We got a warrior. He's pretty strong. I'm putting him in the A because I like the fact that he has this really strong active skill right here. Has a 30% rate to stun the enemies. And then he also has this as well, where basic attacks have a 75% rate to stun the targets. So a lot of people, I know some people were like, oh, when I was talking about the mythics, they were like, Lolly Gunner's really strong because she can stun the enemies. But I mean, it's 30% chance to stun the enemies, right? For this, 25% chance for that. But if we take a look right off the bat, I mean, this guy has a 30% rate to stun them, and this is a legendary, right? So he's supposed to be weaker because he's not a mythic, yet his passive ability, his first passive, turns all of his basic attacks into a chance to stun the enemy at a 75% rate. I mean, he's doing a basic attack every time. So he always has a chance to go ahead and stun the enemy, which I think is really amazing. I mean, why would you want Lolly Gunner, the lollipop girl, over this guy who has, you know, such a higher rate at stunning, and it's every time he does a basic attack? So definitely, I think this guy's way better than the mythic. I'm putting him in the A. You could arguably put him in the S if you're looking straight for like strong CC heroes, then he's like an S, but I'm putting him in the A for right now. Next one we have is Cray Dogs. Now this is supposed to be like the guy from God of War, a really strong tank, another one who does a bunch of damage that also has a chance to stun all enemies. And then we have some passives where he can recover HP by a percentage of attack to 2 allies. So he's a tank that has some CC and also can heal allies as well. Another solid pick. I'm putting him in the A. I think he's definitely one of the top tier ones. Next one we have is Spar Dogs. Now I absolutely love Spar Dogs. I'm putting Spar Dogs in the S. This is another tank dog. Really cool. Does a bunch of damage, but a 75% rate to stun the target for 2 turns. That's very, very high chance. So, I mean, 3 out of 4 times you're stunning them. But we have passive, which increases our HP. And then we also have this, which I love. So, Spar Dog's piercing lance can weaken enemies and reduces their defense by a percentage, slows them by an amount when he uses basic attacks. But every time he does a basic attack, you're slowing your opponent down, which speed is very, very important. Lowering an opponent's speed means your dog heroes have the opportunity to go ahead of them in the turn order. So lowering their defense and speed, really, really great debuffs to go ahead and use. And then we also just have some extra stuff where he gains 15% of his lost HP at the end of each round. So he self-heals himself. I mean, you don't even need a healer with him per se. Next one we have is Geisha, however you want to say this. I think this is another S tier support. We got an active skill, which goes ahead, summons, does a bunch of damage to all enemies, reduces their damage res by a percentage. Really amazing. So we're going to be able to put more damage out. Basic attacks become attack against the enemy with the highest attack, and it's going to reduce their attack and crit attack. So if you have a big heavy damage dealer on the opponent, you pretty much can chop them down to size. Then we also have this passive that when she is destroyed, she leaves behind a flower, which gives extra HP to allies. And then the active skill is a 50% rate to steal 10 energy, which, hey, anytime you're able to steal energy from your opponent, that means they won't be able to use their active skill. Definitely an amazing support. The only downside is she isn't really like a pure healer. As a support, she doesn't really have a lot of healing. She only has this passive healing that triggers when she's destroyed. She'll do some healing. But other than that, she's more of a regular like supporter, buffer, debuffer kind of play style. Next one we got is the Dog 800. This is another one that I'm putting in the A. A very solid hero. Does a bunch of damage to the enemies with the lowest HP. Puts the burn effect on them, which is really cool. We also have this though that I love. When using a basic attack, he just instantly restores his HP equal to 50% of the damage dealt. So he's constantly going ahead and just healing himself up. Really helps out with not needing a pure healer on your team. Next one we got is the Poseidon dog. Now I feel like this is one of the weaker ones that I did not like. Goes ahead, summons, does a bunch of damage to the enemies in the front row and increases his own defense, which is kind of cool. Gets some extra HP and defense, just really tanky. When attacked, all allies attack is added by 3% for 3 turns. A little bit of extra stuff. But overall, I feel like this isn't like the greatest tank. I feel like there's way better tanks out there. I'd rather have a Spar dog as my tank instead of the Poseidon dog. So I'm putting him in the B. Next one we have is Red Cap. This is supposed to be like the Little Red Riding Hood, and you see the wolf right behind her. This is a mage. Okay one, but again, there's like a lot better mages out there. The only thing that's kind of cool about her is the fact that her whole gimmick is she goes ahead and increases the rage of allies. So if you're strictly looking to just increase the rage of your allies, then like it's good. Honestly, she even feels more like a support because of that. She really, like as a mage, you would think she would do like a lot of damage, but the way she's kind of set up is a lot of her abilities are just granting extra rage to your allies. So because of that, it's like, all right, you know, I mean, like that part is good, but as a mage, if you want damage, she's not really that great. I'm putting her in the B. For her rage ability, you could put her in the A because I think it is really strong and unique depending on your build style with your team and stuff like that. Thunder, this is supposed to be like Thor from Marvel. Mage, this guy's pretty strong. I like him. I'm putting him in the A. He does a bunch of damage with his thunder attacks. Goes ahead and has that burn effect as well. Again, does lightning damage, burn damage, extra damage to enemies. And then if they are burned, you'll see you get that extra 20%. This one I really like. Adds extra 20% HP. And then when he's attacked, there's a chance that he goes ahead and puts burn on the enemy for 2 turns. And then at the start of even turns, any enemy that has the burn effect on them has a 75% rate to be stunned for 1 turn. Now, there's a lot of amazing synergy with this, right? At the start of even turn, burned enemies. So it doesn't matter if he burned them or they got burned from another hero. They just have a random 75% chance that they'll be stunned for a turn. So there's a lot of amazing synergy with this guy. Pair him up with other dog heroes that put the burn effect on enemies, constant stun machine. Putting him in the A for right now. But however, if you have him with a really good burn build, a really good team of other burn heroes, he's easily an S. Easily an S. But just alone, he's an A for right now is what I'm putting him. Next one we have is Demon Girl. This is one that I absolutely love. I think she's so strong as a ranger. She does a bunch of damage to the enemies in the front row and lowers their defense by a really high percentage. 30% for 3 turns is a lot. So you're going to be lowering your enemy's tanks and warrior defense so you can run right through them. But this one I think is so strong. After hitting the enemy, she continuously enrages herself, so she's going to increase her attack, increase her crit attack with each basic attack. So every time she does a basic attack, she's increasing her attack power and her crit attack, and it stacks 5 times. That's insane. I mean, you can go ahead and you're getting what? An extra 75% attack, an extra 50% crit attack. It's so much extra damage, and this extra passive right here, we're getting 20% more attack, and then we're getting armor piercing as well. Passive ability, add the attack of all allies by 15 and crit attack by 10% for 3 turns. Just an amazingly super duper strong hero, puts out so much damage. I just wish I had her at higher stars. Once I get her, you know, at higher stars, I definitely want to use her. The problem is though, like the mythics, they're naturally stronger than the legendaries because it's just a lot easier to go ahead and rank them up or star them up, whatever you want to call it. So they're naturally always going to kind of be a little bit stronger in that aspect. Moving along, we've got Cupid next. Now, Cupid, I think, is one of the weaker ones, but Cupid does have a really interesting effect. The active skill goes ahead and it deals damage to 2 random enemies, and it marks them, and it basically like links them together. So whenever one takes damage, the other one takes 50% of the damage. So it kind of transfers the damage between them two. You know, 2 tanks or 2 frontliners, a tank and a warrior. You know what I mean? Or you link a tank and then someone's support. You don't really want that damage being put onto the tank. You know what I mean? Like there's just a lot of instances where Cupid is just not that great because of that linking. It's just too unpredictable, and it's, you know what I mean? I just didn't like it when I tried it out. Next one we have is Medusa. This is another one that is pretty niche-y in a sense. She does a little bit of damage, 20% rate to cause the silence to the enemies, and each ally has a 50% rate to clear all controls. So you can remove your CC effects, which I love. I think she has a really decent like active skill right here. And then her basic, and then her passive skills, we got when using a basic attack, she randomly increases the attack of an ally and their defense last 2 turns, and then when her HP falls below 50% for the first time, increases the damage bonus to all allies by 8% for 5 turns. I mean, it's okay, but it's really not that great. Like there's other supports that just do more, that just bring more to the table. So I feel like she's definitely one of the more weaker ones. Now this one I think is by far the worst support. This is the one I'm putting in the C. I mean, you could probably put Medusa in the C too if you wanted to. We'll put Medusa in the C just so Modern Homes isn't lonely. But I feel like this is another really weak support. Next one we got is a tank. We got Husky Lee. This is, I feel like, one of the like main cover characters for this game. I don't even know what this means. We don't know how much attack damage this is. We don't know what the rate to stun the enemies is. There's just a lot of like things, like discrepancies here where we just don't know. And I think it's a solid pick, but not the like the best. I'm putting Husky in the B. Moving along, we got Zeus. Now I think this is an absolutely super broken support. I would take Zeus way over Modern Homes or Medusa. Like Zeus, this guy is such a strong support. We got an active skill which does a bunch of damage with a 35% chance to stun targets and a 20% rate to increase his own speed, which is, hey, I mean, that's amazing. By an enemy, he goes ahead and just reduces their attack by 5% for 3 turns. Not a chance, it's guaranteed to reduce. This one though, I think is what's super broken about him. He emits an electromagnetic charge pulse to enemies, turning his basic attack into dealing 120% damage to one random target, and he stuns them for 1 turn. Guaranteed stun. This is not a chance. This is 100% going to stun the enemy. I mean, hey, Guaranteed stun. What could go wrong with that? Legendary support. We're putting him in the S. From there, our next one we have is Mushroom. This is Mario. Now, this I think is one of the weaker ones. However, he has one unique trait to him that makes him really strong for PvP battles and certain situations. He has the charm effect. So he throws out a hallucinogenic mushroom which charms the enemy and it makes them go ahead and attack random allies. So if you charm one of your opponent's really strong heroes, they pretty much are just demolishing their own team. So it's very, very niche and very, very situational. Next one we got is a mage, and this is Chow Chow. This is another one that I really didn't like. I'm putting him in the B. Next one we got is basically this is Zoro from One Piece. So another strong assassin, deals a bunch of damage, a chance to reduce the target's rage. Now this is what I think makes him so strong. 2 turns with a basic attack, which I love. I think that's really cool. Frozen Slash. Putting him in the A. Overall, I think he's a solid assassin. Next one we got is a warrior, the dog father. But overall, he's not like super duper crazy. So he's another one that's kind of tough to rank in the A or the B. We'll put him in the B for right now. From there, we've got Bumble Dog. This is like Bumblebee. I believe this is supposed to be like the Transformers. Yeah, because he transforms into the car. This is another one that I feel is pretty weak. Bumble Dog goes ahead and has a lot of chances to silence the enemies. So basic attacks have a chance to silence the enemy, but it's 50% rate. Decent assassin, nothing crazy strong, but overall, like, you know, okay. But I think there's better assassins out there. A niche. If you need an assassin who's going to silence the enemy, then hey, this is your option. Now Ninja Dog is a ranger, and I think Ranger Dog, I'm putting him in the A. I really like Ranger Dog. Does a bunch of damage to all with a 30% chance to cause them to bleed for 100% of the attack damage per turn. Really, really amazing right there. Now this one, I don't know how to read this. Like, this is so confusing to me, this passive. I really just like the wording on this is so confusing. Every time the enemy acts, there's a 50% rate to being seen through. And I guess what this means is every time the enemy acts, there's a 50% chance to mark them. And then when they have 2 marks on them, they get stunned and bleed. Is that what it, like, if that's what it is, then this is absolutely a super duper broken strong passive ability. I don't know how to read that. If that's the way it works and the enemies constantly have that chance to be stunned and bleed, then I think he's easily an S. But right now I'm putting him in the A because I just don't understand the wording properly. This one I don't know how to pronounce. I don't even know where this is from. Baizu. I feel like this is from one of the fighting games or something. I don't know what this dog is even supposed to be from. Another one that I feel is weak. There's just way better assassins. There's assassins that do way, way more. Speaking of assassin, we have the assassin and assassin. This is from Assassin's Creed. This is specifically that main character. That again, I think is another weaker one. Really doesn't bring a whole lot to the table. Does the attack to active skill, does a bunch of damage and makes the target bleed, which is cool. I would say the thing that I like the most though is the third passive, where we have a 35% rate to silence the enemy when we just do a basic attack. I think that's really strong. A basic attack where you can just constantly do it. Like, I like that. The other stuff is like not that great. Overall, I think this one's another one that's kind of weaker. Arguably, you could put him in the A because of this trait. This passive's pretty good because of that, but I think, you know, there's just, again, there's way better dog heroes to choose from. Our last two we got is Dracula. Now, Dracula, I really like Dracula. He's a mage, and he goes ahead, deals damage to all enemies, 50% chance to cause all the targets to bleed, causes extra damage by 100% of attack each turn. So that's a lot of extra damage if he puts the bleed effect on all the enemies. Amazing. Chance, 75% chance. It's a very, very high chance that during his basic attack, he's going to immobilize the target and restore 200% of his own attack as health. And that is a lot. That is a lot of self-healing that he has on his basic attacks. I mean, hey, again, you don't need a healer with him. So I'm putting him in the A. I think he's a really strong, absolutely really strong mage. From there, we have our last one. I haven't unlocked this guy, believe it or not. This is the only one that I still cannot. It is hard to pull the Straw Hat. This is Monkey D. Luffy from One Piece. And hey, I think this is a really broken hero. Really strong warrior. Does a bunch of damage to the enemies, reduces the target's damage defense, which is really good. And it's all enemies. So he's reducing all the enemies' damage defense. Basic attacks restore 50% of the damage dealt and increases his attack by 10. Now I believe this doesn't stack because usually I believe it would say stacks. We've got extra 20% HP and extra attack as well. And then his attacks will cause enemies to suffer 50% burn damage and decreases heal received by 15. So he's got a lot of just unique abilities. Put him in the S, put him in the A. I'm putting him in the A for right now. I think if this was to stack that extra 10% attack increase, then he'd be easily an S. I'm putting him in the A for right now. Solid overall hero. That is it. That is the tier list. I hope you guys and girls enjoyed the video. Another long video. These tier lists, man, there's a lot to cover. Stay happy, stay safe, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.